Hey everyone, it's Alan going live. This is part of my Go Live Every Day in August series. This is the 24th day and it's the 24th live broadcast this month, so I'm on a pretty good stretch. Want to do a sort of short one today talking about multiple attackers and mass attacks and how to deal with that because of a person here that wrote me on Facebook and asked me to address this. I think he's specifically concerned with some of the things that are going on with white supremacists and some of the stuff we've seen in the news. And so he wanted me to discuss multiple attackers and mass attacks. And I'll tell you why I believe those are different here in a second, and why there's different strategies and such dealing with multiple attackers versus a mass attack. And I'll explain that here real quick. Just letting some people have a chance to get on. Remember, likes, shares, comments, always appreciated. So please make comments, share this, like it, get it out there, let people see it so we can help more people. Also going to make sure to remind people, go to surviveanddefend.com, check out all the resources there. Great website for safety, self-defense, survival topics. And it's not just beating people up or fighting. On the Survive and Defend Facebook page, I just shared a thing about spiders, getting bit by a spider. I mean, that's a threat we have to worry about, right? In some places you could get bit. Some are poisonous. They can cause sickness, even death. So I try to make common sense safety for all types of different threats that could spoil our lives, because I want us to enjoy life and enjoy it safely. So talking about multiple attacks versus mass attacks, and this is how I differentiate them. Multiple attacker might be 2 or 3 people on one, where a mass attack I'm looking at 4 or more, and it's going to be a little different how you would deal with those. So I'll talk about multiple attackers first. If you have 2 or 3 against one, obviously it's a bad situation. And if you can avoid it, that's first and foremost. And that's with anything. If we can avoid violence, do so. Violence is only our last resort because we failed somewhere else and we weren't able to avoid it. And when we have to go to violence, it's not halfway. It's 100% and you take care of business, because we're not playing games. We went to violence because it was serious and our life was in danger. We were in danger of serious bodily injury and or death, and so we're going to defend ourselves. I don't believe in just going out and play fighting and all this macho kind of stuff. I outgrew that. I understand it because I was there back in my younger days with the Army, but I outgrew that. And I recommend, if you're in that kind of macho posturing, bar fighting, see how tough you are, outgrow it really fast. Because if you don't outgrow it, you could have severe consequences. So I'm talking about things where you have to defend yourself because there's going to be serious bodily injury and or death. Now, with 2 or 3 people, multiple attackers, the disparity of force is already raised. That's a more serious situation. There's a greater threat to you if there's multiple people. And therefore, you can raise your response. And my philosophy, if you're fighting more than one person, you need to put them down and put them down so they can't get back in the fight. And that means hitting them hard and taking shots that are going to seriously hurt them and take them out of the fight. You're going to blast a knee so that guy can't run after you. You're going to hit him in the head so hard that he's unconscious on the ground and can't run after you when you're escaping. Okay? So you need to up the force, go 100% committed, and take people out. Because if you don't, if you're playing around with him, trying to submit him or control him, his buddies are going to stomp you. And that's the danger of multiple attackers. And that's why avoidance is always best. Now, there are strategies you can use with multiple attackers. A stacking strategy. I got a guy here and a guy here. I move off to this side and I get them stacked. So this guy is in the way of his buddy. So for momentarily, I just have to deal with one. And if I can hit him hard enough and push him into his buddy, then maybe I can exit this way. So that's one tactic and strategy when you're going against multiple people, is to stack them so they can only come at you from one direction. Okay? Now, it's difficult. There's no joking about it, saying, yeah, it's easy to beat multiple people. And that's why you're justified in raising the stakes. And if you are armed, you use a weapon. You don't fight barehanded and defending your life empty-handed if you don't have to. And so if you can arm yourself against multiple attackers, do so, okay? But the person that wrote me and asked me the question, this person was more worried about these gatherings, the white supremacists and some of this stuff that's going on. There's far right and far left fringe groups that are creating violence, and being on the wrong side of either of them can be extremely dangerous. And a mass attack, 4 or more, you're not going to Bruce Lee him and start kicking butt and knocking people out. It's not going to happen. I don't care who you are. So there's a different strategy. You're not trying to stack 4 or 5 or 6 or more people. Here's your goal for a mass attack. Minimize the damage they do to you and escape. That's the best usually you can do when you're talking a big group of people that wants to do you harm. And that goes back to what I said earlier, why it is so important to try to avoid these. I responded, when the person wrote me, I responded, the best advice is don't go to those rallies. Don't go to those places where violence is erupting. Don't be part of it. Just, if you see something, it's a crowd gathering and it's a crowd that could be violent, leave. Get out of there. Go home where it's safe. Go somewhere else. Don't be a part of it, and you won't have to dealing with a mass attack. Jonathan says your words are so wise. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate the comment. And I'm trying to bring some common sense to this. And I really try to bring common sense to everything I talk about with violence and safety. Sadly, common sense is not always commonly practiced, but I'm trying to get people to do that. And with a mass attack in these large groups, your best thing is to avoid them and don't go there. If you're caught in one, and there are people, a group of people trying to hurt you, your best bet is to minimize damage and create a hole and escape, because you're not going to Bruce Lee a whole crowd. That's Hollywood fantasy stuff. Okay, even if accomplished martial artists and stuff, you got a group in front of you, 5, 6, 7 people. You're not going to be Bruce Lee-ing them and doing all this fancy stuff. It's Hollywood. Okay, so you minimize damage, and the thing you need to protect the most is your head. Getting hit in the head, whether the guy has a board, a pipe, he's a big guy and hits you with his fist. The blow to the head can knock you unconscious or daze you so bad that when you're laying on the ground, then they start putting boots up to you. And a few good kicks to the head when you're already down, that can create severe brain damage or kill you. Okay, so you got to protect your head and do everything you can to stay on your feet and don't go to the ground, because on the ground with a mob stomping you, it's a bad situation all the way around. They're going to, especially if they start stomping on your head, that's how people die. And so we do everything we can to stay on our feet. If we go down, we protect our head, protect, our vitals the best we can until we can, crawl through a hole and get back to our feet and escape. That's the strategy we have to have. And you're going to do anything you can to get away. And if that means you got to go through someone, so be it. We're not tackling them, taking them down and submitting them. We're smashing them and getting them out of our way so we can escape somewhere safe and get somewhere safe. Shion Joe says, most people get hurt because of stupidity and false ego and pride. That's true. Thinking that you're tough and you're going to take on this group, no. And that's why, when you're talking multiple attackers, you bump into a guy that's drinking with his buddies in the bar, apologize. Offer to buy him a beer that you spilled if it was your fault, instead of getting stupid and getting in a fight with him and his buddies. That's just sort of ego dumb stuff. So we want to stay out of that. But again, the guy that wrote me, he's more concerned with these crowds. And so basically, I've said the best advice that I can give you. Avoid the crowd, and if you happen to be in one, minimize the damage, protect your vitals, especially your head, and do everything you can to escape. You got to look for the weakest point, the gap that you can get through and get to safety. And if you have to create that gap, you look at the smallest guy that you think you can push out of the way or knock him out and get through, whatever you have to do to get out. You know, a lot of times I use my Fluffy the cat analogy that, you know, Mark and McYoung used to talk about Fluffy the cat, and I took that and changed it a little bit and talk about Fluffy the cat getting a bath. That's how you want to be. You know, you're going to do anything possible. You're going to bite, scratch, claw, kick, stomp, hammer fist, palm, heel, punch, whatever it takes to create a hole and get to safety. And you're not trying to take on a mob. You're not going to do it. And anybody says that, yeah, you can take on a whole bunch of people, you know, they're blowing smoke, because that's just not going to happen. You got to look out for yourself, avoid it, and then escape to safety. That's the best advice that I can give anybody dealing with some of these mobs and some of these violent clashes that are been occurring. If anybody has questions, thoughts, suggestions, please go ahead and type them in. Otherwise, you know, I'm not going to go on too much longer. I'm going to go eat dinner and then get ready I got to teach tonight, and then I got to travel tomorrow, so got stuff to get done. But I did want to film this tonight because, you know, a guy his name is Richard. I hope Richard's on. If he's not, I hope he watches it later, and that we can this can give him a little bit of information for his question. Stephen says, yes, get the blank out of there. Run for the hills. In Aikido, we do called randori, which means in Japanese, seizing chaos. Multiple attackers in my class I teach. Get the hell out of there. Oops. Minimal damage, shoot for, and yeah, and I can't read the rest of it, but exactly where you're going, Stephen. Again, you know, we practice against multiple people, and it's fun to do that. When I was at Fort Bragg, I trained down at Wolf's Karate Studio down on Yatkin Road, and this was in the late 80s. And he used to take 1 against 2, 1 against 3, 2 against 3, 2 against 4, and he just mixed people up. And we were wearing light gloves and stuff, and we'd get out there, and you could kick, you could punch, you could throw, whatever, and it was good fun training. You'd go home with lumps and bruises, but, you know, it was in a safe environment. In real life, there's nobody there to stop it when you start losing. So, but it is good for training. Xian Joe says, when you see these people going to these riots, they are looking for trouble. They are. Many of them are looking for trouble. And why, you know, just stay away. Don't go. There are ways to protest. There are ways to get your points across without going down and engaging in the violence, which can get you hurt or killed. And so why do that? Stay at home, stay away, go do a more productive way to help champion your cause, whatever that might be. But don't go engage in violence with people that want that violence. That gets them more publicity. And you just don't know. People that talk about this and that, about violence, a lot of them have never experienced it for real. You know, I see people talking on Facebook. You know, this is getting a little off topic, but I'll go on for a couple more minutes before I leave. I see people on Facebook calling for a civil war. If that's not the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, do you know what would happen with a civil war? Do we really want our friends, relatives dying? Do we want to die ourselves, our family get killed? Do we want to see our communities destroyed? Do we want to see our country ripped apart? You know, that's just absurd thinking. We need to look at better ways to resolve problems and differences. We need to look at peaceful solutions and compromise. Compromise isn't a dirty word. It's how you get along when you have such a diverse melting pot of a country that we have. Hey, Brenda, thanks for saying hi. Appreciate you being here. And again, everybody, comments, likes, shares, all of those help get this message out. So I appreciate that. Any other questions? I went off on a little tangent there, but any other questions, thoughts, comments about multiple attackers or mass attacks? And remember, I made the difference of multiple attackers being like 2 or 3 and mass being 4 or more. And there's a different ball game when you're dealing with those kind of situations. So anybody else have a comment or a question that I can address and talk about, or that you want to share with everybody else? I always like it when other people share their thoughts and ideas too. Then, I learn something too. Alain Burrese for president. Oh, thank you, Xian Zhou, but I pass on that. I don't think I'd want that job. Great common sense advice. Thank you, Julie. That's really what I try to do with my safety and self-defense and different things is present common sense solutions that can help people stay safe. Hey, Lana just joined, and I'm just about to say goodbye, Lana, but good to see you here. And Julie, I really appreciate that comment, so thank you much. With that said, I am going to sign out, make this a little bit shorter tonight. Please share it, pass it around to people so everybody else can get some of this too, because I know it was on Richard's mind. That's why he wrote me. There are a lot of people that are a little bit worried and scared about some of these things that are going on, and maybe this can give them some advice of what to do. But also, think of the couple, I'll end with this, think of the couple bad situations we've had and how many people are involved, and then think of all of the places where nothing bad went on and good was going on, and events that were happening with hundreds and thousands of people together enjoying events, whether it was an affair or a concert, all of these wonderful things going on in life. So don't focus on just that bad stuff. Take some advice to stay out of the bad stuff. Be prepared if it happens to you. But then go out and enjoy the good stuff. And let's make life better for all of us. So enjoy life safely. We'll catch you later. Thank you, everyone.